One afternoon, over coffee that had gone cold, my fiancée said she needed a break, not to find herself, but to revisit the man who once broke her heart, and mine. So I packed my things, sold the house we chose together, and moved across the country without looking back. 8 months later, she's spiraling, and I've never felt more whole. If you've ever been someone's second option, stay with me. This story might help you choose peace over pain. I was 32. My life was quiet, structured, and by most standards good. I had a solid job, a house I bought with old money and long hours, and a fiancé I thought I'd grow old beside. Susan was 30, smart, easy to laugh with, and carried a past she said she'd buried. We'd been together 4 years, engaged for 1, living in the home I owned outright, 3 bedrooms, a porch swing, and a plan. She moved in 2 years after we met, paid for groceries, utilities, nothing more. The deed had my name alone, that was never questioned. Her ex, James, was long gone, a chapter closed by betrayal. At least, that's what she told me. She spoke of him like an old wound, something scarred over. I believed her. We talked marriage, even kids. I thought we were building something. But what I didn't know then was that while I was preparing for forever, she was already looking back, and eventually she'd ask for a break. Not to find herself, but to revisit the man who broke her. And me. You can always tell when a storm's coming. The sky darkens just a bit too early, and there's a stillness in the air that doesn't sit right on your skin. That's what those last 6 months felt like with Susan. She started saying his name again, James. At first it was nothing. A passing mention here, a chuckle there, like hearing from an old friend you didn't know still existed. Funny, she'd say. I saw James post something about Iceland. He always wanted to go. I nodded the first time, and the second, maybe even the fifth. Folks talk about the past sometimes, it's part of being human. But this started to feel like something else. James had always been part of her story. She'd told me how it ended, his lies, the cheating, the way he hollowed her out and left her questioning her worth. And I'd listened with the patience of a man in love. Back then, I thought she'd healed. I thought we were the healers. But suddenly, James was no longer a closed chapter. His name found its way into our conversations, subtle at first, then bold. She'd compare things, how James used to cook dinner late at night, or how he had this spontaneous streak, how he made her feel alive. I miss how free I felt with him, she said once, quietly, as if it slipped out by mistake. That sentence landed like a rock in the gut. I tried to reason with myself, told myself not to overthink it. Maybe she was just processing things out loud. People don't always tidy up their past neatly. But then came the phone time. Endless screen-lit evenings with her thumb dancing across messages she never shared. I'd walk in and she'd quickly flip her screen. When I asked what was going on, she'd sigh, long and heavy, say something like, "Just tired," or "Work's been nuts." But tired people don't hide their screens. Lovers don't guard their phones. One evening, over reheated lasagna and flickering kitchen light, she told me James had reached out. He sent a message, apologized for everything, and, she said, her voice was soft, almost wistful. He said he's changed. She looked at me then, and I could see something in her eyes I hadn't seen in months. Conflict. She wasn't just remembering, she was feeling again. He wants to talk, she said, just once. Closure. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't throw down my fork or accuse her of betrayal. I just stared at my plate and said, "Closure doesn't come from the person who broke you. It comes from deciding not to let them break you again." She nodded slowly, like she heard me, but didn't quite listen. The weeks that followed were a slow unraveling. I wasn't jealous, not exactly. I was unmoored. Our home began to feel less like something we were building, and more like something slowly hollowing out. Conversations grew thin, smiles grew rehearsed. She stopped planning our wedding, no talk of colors, venues, or guest lists, just silence where there used to be warmth. Then came the moment that knocked the air out of my lungs. A Tuesday night, cold outside, but quiet inside, the kind of night meant for comfort. She stood in the living room, coat still on, cheeks flushed from the wind, and said it like she'd practiced it all day. "I think we should take a break." She said it like you'd say we're out of milk, calm, practical, not a flicker of remorse. "A break from what?" I asked, though I already knew. "From us," she whispered. I need time. Space. I need to figure things out." And then she said his name again. "James." Like it meant something noble. "I'm not saying I'm going back to him," she added quickly, "but I need to know for sure. I can't move forward with you while there are questions in my heart." What she didn't know was that her questions had already carved answers in mine. I stood there for a long time after she went to bed. just stood in the hallway, staring at the closed door between us. And I thought about all the nights I sat with her when she cried over him. All the ways I'd tried to prove I wasn't that man. And now, here she was, turning back toward the man who broke her. Like the pain meant more than the peace we built. That's the cruelest part of love sometimes. It's not that you weren't enough, it's that their heart was still chained to a memory. 3 days later, I sold the house. Didn't tell her at first. Just called the realtor, packed what mattered, and moved across the country. Left no forwarding address, no explanations, only silence. If she needed space, I gave her the sky. And that silence? It grew louder than any answer she could have given. There's a kind of silence that isn't empty. It's full of everything unsaid, everything withheld, everything slowly slipping out of reach. That was the air between Susan and me in those final weeks. Thick, quiet, and humming with tension. At first, it was the little things. The way she angled her phone when I walked by, the way she lingered just a beat too long before answering a question. Her laughter, soft and far away, drifted from the other room when I knew she wasn't watching TV. I asked her once, gently, if everything was okay. She smiled, touched my arm, and said she was just tired. But even then I could feel something pulling her away, like the tide, steady and sure. Soon enough, the truth spilled out in pieces. She admitted that she and James had been talking more often, said he had reached out again, that he was apologizing, reflecting, and regretting. According to her, he was a changed man now, humbled, grounded, different. I wanted to believe that she was only being kind, that she was simply giving closure its final breath, but the words she used? They weren't the kind you use for a chapter that's closed. She spoke about James like a place she used to live, a place that maybe still felt like home. She started talking about their old inside jokes. That trip they took to Oregon, the silly song he'd sing when she was having a bad day. He just understood parts of me I didn't even know I had, she said once. I stood there, nodding slowly, wondering what parts I had missed all this time. And then she started comparing, not overtly, not cruelly, but subtly, like water eroding stone. James always had this way of making ordinary days feel exciting, she told me as we folded laundry together. Our life is comfortable and stable, she'd say, and that's good, I think. But sometimes I wonder if comfort is enough. That one stayed with me. I remembered all the times we'd sat on this very couch, dreaming about a quiet home and steady love, and I wondered when those dreams had stopped being enough. I tried to talk to her. Talk. I asked what had changed, what was missing. She said she still loved me, that I hadn't done anything wrong, that she was just confused, and the confusion scared her. She said talking to James brought back parts of herself she thought she'd lost. She spoke of what ifs and maybe I never really healed. Every answer left me with more questions. Then came the coffee. She told me ahead of time, framed it like it was a good thing, like it would bring her clarity. Just one coffee, she said. Closure. I told her I didn't like it. That I didn't feel right about her meeting the man who once broke her and now seemed to be pulling her back in. But I didn't forbid her. I didn't shout. I believed, perhaps foolishly, that she would come back with certainty, that she would look me in the eye and say, "He's part of my past and I choose you." But when she came back, she was quiet. Not the kind of quiet that holds peace, but the kind that hides answers. She said the conversation was interesting, James had grown, and that was all. In the days that followed, her distance became undeniable. The way she moved through the house, it was like she was already halfway gone. And then came the Saturday. I'd planned a day out, a hike through the state park, maybe lunch in town, something to bring us back to each other. I made coffee, put on my hiking boots, and called out to her from the kitchen. She came downstairs, slowly, wrapped in a cardigan, her eyes tired. "We need to talk," she said. We sat down at the dining room table, the same place we'd once talked about wedding colors, honeymoon destinations, and baby names. "I appreciate everything you've done," she began. Her voice was soft, measured, and almost rehearsed. "I appreciate you. I love you. But I'm confused." She paused, took a breath. Seeing James stirred something in me, and it made me realize I'm not sure I've closed that door completely. I thought I had, but I keep wondering, what if I didn't give him the chance to show me who he could have become? I said nothing, just stared at the wood grain in the table. "I'm not saying I want to end this," she went on, "but I need time, space. I want a break from us. A few weeks, maybe a month. I'd stay with Emma or rent a short-term place. I just need to know, truly, where my heart is before we get married. I need to see if there's still something there with him, and if there is, well, I'd rather know now than years down the road." I looked up then, into her eyes. They weren't cruel. They weren't even cold. They were lost. "So you want to date your ex," I said while I wait here, like a placeholder. "It's not like that," she whispered. But it was, and we both knew it. I nodded, slowly and quietly. "Okay," I said. "You want space, Susan? You'll have it." She reached for my hand, but I didn't move. I just stood up and walked out of the room. And from that moment forward, I began to disappear. From her world, from the life we'd built, from the man she thought would wait. She looked me in the eyes that morning, in the very room where we once picked out kitchen tiles and talked about baby names, and asked, without flinching, for permission to press pause on us. Not to heal, not to reflect, but to go and see if the man who once tore her apart might now be her forever. She framed it gently, like a kindness, as though exploring a romance with James could somehow make her a better partner for me, as if trying on betrayal like a dress might help her know if our life, our steady, weathered, beautiful life, was enough. I listened. I didn't interrupt. That much I could offer her, even if she was dismantling the scaffolding of our future brick by brick with every word. But inside me, something quiet and old snapped. Not in anger, not even in grief, just a thread pulled too far, across too many years. When she finally finished, I asked her to be honest. Was she planning to sleep with him during this break? She hesitated, then nodded, said it was the only way to know for sure. I nodded back. That was all I needed. I told her, calm as a lake at dusk, that I would not be waiting around while she played nostalgia roulette with the man who had once made her cry for weeks. I would not be her placeholder, her emotional storage unit, her backup plan. I told her that she had every right to explore whatever she needed to feel whole again, but she would do it without me. That was the moment she broke. The moment she realized the safety net she'd always counted on was gone. Her voice got smaller, faster. "You're misunderstanding. This is about confusion, not a lack of love." But it was exactly about that. About the kind of love that lets in uncertainty, invites ghosts back into the house, and asks the living to wait outside. She backpedaled, suggested that maybe the break wasn't necessary, that we could talk it through, that this didn't mean goodbye. But for me, it did. Because the second she gave her heart permission to wander, she left ours behind, and no amount of talking could sew that back together. I told her our engagement was over, that I'd be calling a locksmith, she should make arrangements to move her things out by the end of the week. She sat in silence for a while, tears welling but never falling. Eventually she left, took her car, her phone, and the fragments of whatever story she was still telling herself. That afternoon, I changed the locks. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't revenge, it was clarity. And once I had that clarity, everything else followed like dominoes. I spent the rest of the weekend dismantling what we'd built together. Her things, scarves on doorknobs, coffee mugs with our initials, a box of old letters were packed neatly into cardboard, stacked by the garage. I didn't throw anything. I didn't burn anything. I just removed the pieces of her from the house we were supposed to grow old in. Then I listened it. That house held too many echoes, too many almosts. I found a realtor, started cleaning, staging, and clearing the life we imagined like it was a rental someone else had vacated. Friends asked if I was okay. I told them I was becoming okay. There's a difference. I didn't cry. Not in the way you'd expect. I'd done my mourning in quiet increments long before she asked for that break. Every time she looked at her phone and smiled at a name that wasn't mine. Every time she said our life was comfortable like it was a complaint. Every time she paused too long before saying I love you. By Monday, the house felt lighter, emptier, but not hollow. I was still there. And for the first time in a long time, that felt like enough. 8 months. That's how long it's been since I packed my life into a U-Haul and watched my old neighborhood fade in the rear view. Since then, I've crossed time zones, changed climates, changed jobs, changed everything. It's funny how quickly a life can unravel, and how quickly you can weave it back together if you're willing to let go of the threads that kept cutting you. The move came fast, but it felt earned, like the clean breath after choking underwater. I took a job in a quieter city, one with tree-lined streets and a coffee shop where they know my name now. The job itself isn't perfect, but it's solid, the kind that doesn't make you second-guess yourself every time your phone buzzes. There's peace in that, a kind of stillness I didn't know I'd been missing until I had it. I didn't leave Susan with a grand speech or a final blow-up. I didn't need to. When someone shows you where their loyalty lies, believe them the first time. And she did, clear as day when she said she needed to explore things with James. That wasn't confusion. That was a choice. So, I made mine. She tried to come back, of course. People like her always do. First it was emails, long, winding things full of, "I didn't mean it and I thought I needed closure." Then came the texts, the fake Instagram profiles, even a handwritten letter once. Each one carries a different tone: regret, anger, desperation, and nostalgia. Like she was throwing darts in the dark hoping one would land. But all I felt reading them was distance. Cold, wide, unbridgeable distance. I blocked every number, every profile. Not out of malice, out of mercy for both of us. Because the truth is, if I responded even once, I'd be reopening a wound that had already begun to scab. And I wasn't willing to bleed again for someone who handed the knife to another man and asked if it made her look brave. The house sold quickly. Cash buyer, clean clothes. I left behind the key and a note for the new owners, telling them the back bedroom gets the best morning light. Then I drove west. Radio low, windows cracked. Somewhere around the border I pulled over to watch the sunset. No music, no thoughts, just me, breathing. It felt good. Emma, Susan's sister, reached out a couple of months later, not to apologize, not at first, just to inform me that Susan had hit a rough patch. James had dumped her, shock of the century, and she was bouncing between couches, jobless, aimless, burned out. Emma said she felt bad for her but didn't have space anymore. Their parents were furious, not at me, but at Susan. They'd liked me, respected what I stood for, and now they saw the full picture. That part made me feel something. Not satisfied. Not revenge. Just confirmation. Maybe I wasn't crazy for feeling betrayed. That maybe walking away wasn't cold, it was necessary. Susan's last attempt to reach me was 2 weeks ago. A voicemail from a new number. I didn't pick up. But I listened, just once. Her voice was quiet, shaken. She said she missed me, that she didn't know how things got so bad, that she was sorry. She asked if we could talk, maybe start fresh. I deleted it. Not because I hate her. I don't. I don't feel much toward her at all now, and that I think is the greatest piece of all. To know that someone once held your future in their hands, and now, they don't even have your number. People think heartbreak looks like crying on the floor, like throwing things, like yelling into the void. But for me, it looked like a quiet night in a new apartment, folding fresh laundry, sipping lukewarm tea, and not thinking about her at all. It looked like ordering takeout from the diner down the block, like watching a movie I used to love before she told me it was boring. It looked like me, choosing me every single day. I've started dating again, nothing serious yet, just coffee and conversation. And that's enough. I don't need fireworks right now. I need real. I need kindness. I need quiet and consistent. The rest will come when it's meant to. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. When someone asks for space, give it to them. And don't stand at the edge waiting for them to come back. Step away. Build something new. Plant something that grows. The ones who walked out don't get to walk back in just because they finally realized the door wasn't theirs to close. And if they ever ask why you let go, you can smile and say, because I finally realized I didn't have to hold on to someone who didn't hold me back. So yeah, this is where I am now. A new job, a new home, a new horizon. I don't know what's next, but I know it won't be her. And that's not a loss. That's the beginning of everything. And if you've stuck around this long, maybe it's because some part of this story felt familiar. Maybe you've been someone's second option. Or maybe you're standing at a crossroads right now, wondering whether holding on is love or just fear. I told you at the start that this story was about betrayal, but really, it's about choosing peace over pride. About walking away, not to punish someone, but to finally protect yourself. If this hits close to home, don't go through it alone. Drop a comment down below, share your story, or just say hi. I read them, and so do others walking the same road. And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and maybe a little bit healing, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You never know who needs to hear this next. Maybe a friend, maybe you, again, someday. Thanks for being here. Keep walking forward.